What if I told you a joke? Not the kind that makes you chuckle politely at a dinner table, not the kind that leaves you slapping your knee in delight, but the kind of joke that claws at the back of your skull long after the laughter fades. A joke that unsettles you, that makes you look over your shoulder, that makes you realize the punchline has been staring you in the face your whole life. And here it is. The biggest joke in the world is fear. That's right, fear, fear. The trembling in your hands, the sweat on your brow, the tightening in your chest. You've been told your whole life to run from it, bury it, ignore it, drown it in distractions. But what if I told you that fear isn't the enemy? It's the punchline. What if I told you that fear, that thing you've been taught to silence, is the only thing that ever told you the truth? What if I told you that your entire life, every little decision, every cautious step, has been nothing more than a comedy routine written by fear itself? Think about it. People go to work every day not because they love their jobs, but because they fear poverty. People get married not always because of love, but because they fear loneliness. People obey laws not because they believe in justice, but because they fear punishment. Fear is the real puppeteer, pulling strings while you convince yourself you're the one in control. Ha! That's the trick, the cosmic gag. You're not running your life, your fear is. Society has a favorite bedtime story it tells its children, that fearlessness is a gift, that courage is some shiny medal awarded to the chosen few. They make it sound soft, noble, clean, as if courage is born in a cradle, wrapped in lullabies, passed down like an inheritance. But the truth is uglier. Fearlessness isn't gifted, it's stolen, ripped out of the jaws of fear itself, twisted, reshaped, and worn like a second skin. And let me tell you, the skin never comes off. Fear never leaves. It lingers always. But here's where the story gets funny. While you're busy trying to pretend fear isn't there, while you drown it in noise, in applause, in the desperate approval of others, I'm here laughing with it, dancing with it, using it, because fear isn't the enemy. Fear is the mask. And the mask, oh, the mask is everything. Look around you. Everyone wears a mask. The father who pretends he's strong for his children when deep down he's terrified of failure. The politician who smiles in front of cameras while sweating bullets behind closed doors. The soldier who screams bravado on the battlefield while his heart pounds with terror. They all wear masks. And the funniest part, they think the mask hides the fear. But me? I know the truth. The mask doesn't hide fear. The mask is fear. It's the only thing holding them together. Strip it away and they shatter. Here's where I come in. Unlike them, I don't hide from fear. I paint it on my face. I make it loud. I let the world see it, feel it, choke on it. My smile? That's fear, twisted until it looks like laughter. My laugh? That's terror, distorted until it sounds like joy. I don't pretend fear is gone. I shove it into the spotlight and make it dance. That's the joke. The thing everyone runs from is the very thing I've turned into my act. Machiavelli once whispered in his little book, "It's better to be feared than loved." Cute, isn't it? But he didn't go far enough. He didn't understand the real punchline. It's not enough to be feared. It's not enough to be loved. The real power, the ultimate trick, is to make people laugh while they're afraid of you. To blur the lines so perfectly that they don't know if they should clap, scream, or run. That's control. That's comedy. That's chaos. You see, the herd, oh, the precious herd, spends their lives building walls around themselves, convincing each other that safety is real. They lock their doors, guard their routines, chase their fragile comforts. They mistake routine for order, safety for strength. But all it takes is one crack, one scream in the night, one clown with a smile too wide, and their walls tumble down. And when they do, they don't fight, they don't rise. They cower, they shake, they beg, because fear is their foundation, and when fear wobbles, so does everything else. But here's the thing, I don't want to destroy fear. No, 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 destruction is too easy. too predictable. I want to play with fear. I want to bend it, twist it, make it dance until the crowd can't tell whether they're entertained or horrified. Fear, when wielded right, isn't just survival. It's spectacle. It's art. And in a world where everyone is busy hiding from it, the man who grabs fear by the throat becomes untouchable. Think of it like this. Everyone else is hiding under the bed, whispering prayers that the monster goes away. Meanwhile, I'm standing in the middle of the room, laughing with the monster, asking it to tell me another joke. That's the difference. That's why I'm not ruled by fear. I rule it. I crown it. I make it part of my kingdom. And let me tell you a secret. Fear doesn't just shape you. It shapes the way others see you. You think people respect strength? Oh, no. They respect the illusion of strength. You think they admire love? Wrong. They admire the appearance of love. But fear. Fear changes how people breathe around you, how they speak, how they look at you. Fear rearranges the room before you even say a word. That's why Machiavelli was half right. To be feared is to control perception. But to be feared and laughed with? That's to control reality itself. So let's strip away the soft stories, the bedtime lies, the applause that keeps you numb. Fear is not your enemy. Fear is not a curse. Fear is the mask you must wear, the stage you must stand on, the fire you must learn to juggle until the crowd gasps. Everyone else wastes their lives pretending fear doesn't exist. But me? I live for it. I thrive on it. I take it, bend it, twist it into a smile, and fling it back at the world like the punchline they never saw coming. And you, if you're listening carefully, should be asking yourself one question. What would happen if you stopped running from fear and started laughing with it? What would happen if you stopped pretending fear was your enemy and realized it was your greatest trick? What would happen if, instead of begging for safety, you painted fear across your face and wore it proudly as your mask? That's the beginning. That's the first joke. Fear is not what keeps you small. Fear is what can make you untouchable. If you're willing to stop running and start laughing. Safety. Oh, now there's a funny little drug. Everyone's hooked on it, and nobody even realizes they're addicted. Safety is the sweetest lie, the lullaby that rocks a whole city to sleep. People don't just crave it, they worship it. They bow before their alarms, their routines, their neatly scheduled calendars, whispering prayers to order as if it were their god. You think Gotham is any different from your world? Ha! Gotham just has more smoke, more shadows, and a better sense of theater. But the addiction, oh, the addiction is everywhere. You see, people want the illusion of control, not control itself. Control is hard. Control is painful. Control requires facing fear head on, and nobody likes that. So what do? They outsource their fear. They hand it to the police, to politicians, to padded walls and glowing screens. They bury it under comfort food, scrolling thumbs, and fluorescent lights. They build walls, both real and invisible, and then they hide behind them like children clutching blankets. Safety, 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 everywhere you look. Safety signs, safety rules, safety nets. And yet, for all the screaming about safety, people have never been more terrified. Isn't that delicious? They wear seatbelts, helmets, life jackets, and still can't sleep at night. They sanitize their hands and still fear the cough in the next room. They cling to their friends and still worry about being alone. Safety doesn't cure fear. It multiplies it. Because the more layers of protection you stack, the more fragile you actually become. Think of Gotham on a rainy night. The streets are empty, but behind every locked door there's a trembling family. We're safe, they whisper. We've got locks, alarms, the cops on speed dial. But the truth? They're prisoners in their own fortresses. The locks don't protect them. The locks remind them. They remind them of the monsters outside, of the chaos they pretend doesn't exist. Every bolt, every alarm, every rule is a little confession. We are afraid. And that's the punchline, isn't it? Safety is fear dressed up in polite clothes. Safety is society's way of saying, we don't trust ourselves. They put bars on windows, cameras on corners, guards in towers, and call it progress. But what they've really done is build a giant cage for themselves. They mistake the bars for protection, when in fact they're prisons. Now, here's where the joke gets good. When you worship safety, you invite control. Oh, not control of yourself, heaven forbid. You invite someone else to control you. The government, the media, the herd, the mob, the neighbor with the loudest voice. Keep me safe, you say. Protect me. And in that little plea, you hand over the keys to your soul. You give up freedom. You trade it away for the illusion of security. Machiavelli said, "It's better to be feared than loved." But me? I say it's better to make people believe they're safe while I'm standing right behind them with a match and a smile. Because safety blinds them. It dulls their senses. It makes them predictable. A man who wants safety will never risk. He won't leap, won't fight, won't rise. He'll stay in his cage, polishing the bars, decorating the walls, and convincing himself that prison is home. That's why the herd always trembles when someone like me walks in. I don't worship their safety. I mock it. I dance on the tightrope they're too afraid to touch. And in doing so, I remind them of the truth. They're not safe. They never were. Look closer and you'll see how fragile their courage really is. The businessman who brags about his boldness is really terrified of losing status. The mother who clings to morality is just afraid her neighbors will disapprove. The preacher who shouts about righteousness is often trembling at the thought of being caught. Strip away their applause, their routines, their little safety nets, and they collapse. That's the addiction. Without safety, they don't know who they are. You ever watch a crowd when the lights go out? Oh, it's beautiful. The second darkness falls, their precious safety evaporates. The masks slip. The whispers grow frantic. Suddenly, every man for himself. Suddenly, the polite ones shove, the calm ones scream, the friendly ones claw. That's what safety hides. It hides the trembling creature inside every suit and smile. And well, I like to turn off the lights. The herd fears rejection more than death. Isn't that absurd? They'll silence their dreams to keep the applause of people they don't even like. They'll choke their desires just to avoid judgment. They'll sit in dead-end jobs, dead-end relationships, dead-end lives, all because they're terrified of stepping into uncertainty. They call this loyalty, morality, humility. But no, it's cowardice. It's chains. Safety has poisoned them into believing that slavery is virtue. And here's the cruel trick. Safety never delivers. For all their trembling obedience, life will still strip them bare one day. The storm still comes. The monster still knocks. Fear doesn't vanish because you close your eyes. It doesn't dissolve because you hide in the herd. It waits. It waits until the illusion of safety cracks, and then it devours you whole. But me, I laugh. I laugh because I learned long ago that safety is the biggest joke of all. You can build walls, laws, cages, fortresses, but chaos seeps through the cracks. Safety doesn't keep fear away. It invites it in, dresses it up, and calls it civilized. That's why Gotham will always need me, because I remind them of the punchline. I show them that their comfort is fragile, their order is brittle, their gods are hollow. And when I tear away their safety blanket, oh, how they scream, how they beg, how they reveal themselves. In their panic, in their desperation, they become honest. They show me who they really are. That's the fun part. Safety hides their true face. Fear unmasks it. You see, society thinks fear is the enemy. They think safety is salvation. But I know the truth. Safety is the enemy. Fear is the forge. Safety makes you soft. Fear makes you sharp. Safety puts you to sleep. Fear wakes you up. And that's why they hate me. Because I am their alarm clock. Their rude awakening. Their living nightmare with a painted grin. So let them worship safety. Let them chant their little mantras, build their cages, polish their chains. It makes my job easier. Because the moment I twist the knife, the moment I flip the switch, the moment I set the stage on fire, they'll realize how fragile it all was. And in that moment, when their false gods fail them, when their safety dissolves into screams, I will stand there laughing. Not because I destroyed them, but because I revealed them. Because I exposed the biggest joke of all. They never wanted safety. They wanted permission to be cowards. And me? I'm just the clown who showed them the price of their addiction. Fear. Ah, my favorite four-letter word. Not love, not hope, not even doom. No, no, no. Fear. The sweetest instrument in the orchestra of humanity. You see, most people treat fear like a disease, something to be cured, something to hide in the basement, something to lock away in a little black box and pretend doesn't exist. But me? I see fear for what it really is, entertainment. A stage show, the grandest performance in town. And everyone, whether they like it or not, is already part of the cast. You see, the joke is this: fear doesn't weaken people. No, no, no. Fear reveals them. Strip away their fancy suits, their expensive smiles, their polite little masks, and what do you find underneath? Not courage, not wisdom. You find trembling hands, sweating brows, hearts beating like drums in a war zone, and oh, how beautiful it is. Fear is the spotlight that shows who people really are when the curtain falls. Now, society tells you to avoid fear, to run from it, to smother it under blankets of comfort and security. Ha, what a punchline. Because in their desperate little attempts to hide from fear, people build entire prisons for themselves. 9-to-5 jobs they hate, friendships that suffocate, marriages that are cemeteries with wedding rings, all because they're afraid to leap, afraid to fail, afraid to be laughed at. They bow before fear, but instead of acknowledging the master, they pretend it doesn't exist. They clap for themselves in the dark and call it courage, but not me. I laugh at fear, not because I'm free of it. Oh no, don't make the mistake of thinking I'm fearless. I'm not. I'm entertained. I let fear waltz with me. I take it by the hand, give it a little twirl, and spin it into a carnival. That's the trick most people miss. Fear isn't an enemy. Fear is the show. And if you learn to play the show right, oh, you'll own the audience. Take Gotham, for example. A city that clings to order the way a drunk clings to the last bottle. The people pray to their politicians, worship their heroes, kneel before their police. They think order keeps them safe, but deep down, they're terrified. They know it's all one bad day away from collapse. And me? I give them that bad day. I poke, I prod, I light a match, and suddenly the whole circus tent goes up in flames. And what happens? Fear explodes. Chaos erupts, and everyone shows their true face. The good, men beg. The loyal, men betray. The moral, men break every rule they swore to defend. Fear makes them real. And that reality? That's entertainment. You see, fear is not silence. It's theater. It's the gasp in the crowd when the magician pulls the knife. It's the thunder in the distance before the lightning strikes. Fear is the tension in the air, the electricity crawling down your spine. Without it, the world is dull, boring, lifeless. Fear keeps the heart pounding, keeps the eyes wide, keeps the show worth watching. People think the gladiator's opponent is the lion, the sword, the man across the arena. Wrong. The real opponent is fear. That little whisper that says, "You can't win." Most men crumble before it. But a few, the dangerous ones, they turn fear into adrenaline, into clarity, into fuel. They make fear work for them. That's why I love it. Fear isn't an obstacle. Fear is an amplifier. And that's where the fun begins. Because I've learned that fear doesn't just control individuals, it controls crowds, whole populations, entire cities. You want to know the secret to bending the herd? Don't give them love, don't give them reason, don't even give them hope. Give them fear, a taste of dread, a pinch of panic, a whisper of the unknown, and watch them dance. You can get an entire city to burn itself to the ground if you just make it afraid enough. But here's the punchline. While they're all screaming, panicking, running for the exits, I'm laughing. Because fear isn't just control, it's comedy. Do you know how funny people look when they're terrified? Their eyes bug out, their mouths go dry, their legs stumble over each other like broken puppets. Oh, it's priceless. Fear is the truest slapstick, the purest improv. And the best part? It's honest. There's no acting when you're afraid. Fear strips away the script. The philosophers talk about fear as if it's some grand, abstract idea. Machiavelli said it's better to be feared than loved. Cute, but too small, too tidy. That's a political line, not a punchline. I say it's better to make people laugh while they're afraid, to fuse the scream with the smile, to make fear wear a clown's mask. Because then, oh then, you've broken their reality. You've taught them that fear isn't just a shadow lurking in the corner. It's the spotlight itself. That's why I play the game the way I do. The heists, the explosions, the games with the fairies, the coin flips, the social experiments. None of it is about money. None of it is about power in the boring sense. It's about theater. It's about dragging fear out of the shadows and putting it on stage with a painted grin. Watching men in suits sweat like pigs. Watching mothers clutch their children as if the world was ending. Watching so-called heroes tremble, hesitate, break. That's when the real show begins. And here's the dirty little secret. Deep down, people love it. Oh, they'll never admit it, but they crave fear. Why do you think they watch horror movies, read crime novels, slow down when they see a car crash? Because fear entertains them. It makes them feel alive. The problem is, they want it safe, controlled, on a screen, on a page, with popcorn in their lap. But me? I rip the screen open. I drag the fear into the streets. I make the audience part of the play whether they bought a ticket or not. And once they're inside, oh, they can't leave. Fear is funny like that. It doesn't need to be invited. It doesn't knock politely. It kicks the door down, puts its feet on the table, and laughs in your face. And the moment you realize you can't escape it, you either break or you change. You either cry or you laugh with me. That's why I say fear is the best joke ever written, because the punchline always lands. And no one, not the strongest man or the smartest genius, can avoid it. So, when you see me smile, when you hear me laugh, don't think it's because I'm insane. No, no, no. It's because I get the joke. I get that fear isn't some dark enemy lurking in the shadows. It's the spotlight, the stage, the applause, the entire show. And I'm not running from it. I'm directing it. I'm the ringmaster of chaos, the clown prince of fear. And I know what the rest of the world refuses to admit. Fear is not the enemy. Fear is the entertainment. And in this little circus, ladies and gentlemen, the Joker always gets the last laugh. You want to know how I became this way? Ha, that's the question, isn't it? Everyone wants an origin story, a neat little box tied up with a bow, so they can whisper to themselves, ah, that's why he's broken. But here's the joke, my friend. It doesn't matter how the glass cracked, only that the shards are sharper than before. You see, once upon a time, I was like everyone else. You're fragile, anxious, a child begging shadows not to swallow him, a man clawing for approval, for stability, for a little sliver of safety in a world built to crush dreamers flat. Fear owned me then. It sat in my lungs, heavy as smoke, choking me until every word I spoke trembled. Fear of being nothing, fear of being mocked, fear of being forgotten. Oh yes, I was terrified. And society, clever beast that it is, loves men like that. They feed you routines, jobs, bills, rules, smiles plastered over rotten teeth. They teach you obedience and call it virtue. They build cages out of politeness and then pat you on the head when you lock yourself inside. Fear makes wonderful pets out of men. I was one of them, a loyal little lapdog of the herd. But then, something happened. Something snapped. You ever laugh so hard it hurts? That kind of laugh where you're not sure if it's comedy or tragedy? That's what fear did to me. It pushed and pushed until one day I stopped begging it to leave and I started laughing at its face. You know what I realized? Fear doesn't vanish. It doesn't evaporate because you wish it away. It doesn't dissolve in applause or melt in love. Fear mutates. It twists. And if you're cruel enough, if you're mad enough, if you're desperate enough, you can make it your pet instead. That's the transformation, the grand trick. I didn't kill fear. I adopted it. I didn't silence it. I turned up the volume and danced to the noise. Fear became my punchline. Every beat of dread in my chest was a drum roll before the show. You call it insanity. I call it liberation. A victim becomes a predator the moment he stops running. And I stopped. Think about it. Every predator was once prey. Every monster in the dark was once a child who trembled under his blanket. You think the lion was born roaring? No, no, no. First, he was a cub, afraid of shadows bigger than himself. But life is cruel, and cruelty teaches. The cub grows teeth, the child grows scars. And one day, the victim realizes he's more dangerous than the things that once hunted him. That's the joke people don't get. Fear isn't a weakness. It's the raw material of strength. Without fear, you don't grow teeth, you don't sharpen claws, you don't learn to laugh when the world burns. I'll let you in on another little secret. Victims beg for protection. Predators? They use fear to create protection. Once I learned that fear was just another tool, I began to play. First with myself, then with others. You take a trembling man and you give him silence, he breaks. You take a confident man and you give him uncertainty, he crumbles. You take a city built on rules and you twist those rules into riddles, it screams. And oh, how it screams. Fear is a mirror, my friend. It shows you exactly who you are when no one is watching. In my reflection, I saw the fool I used to be, shaking, needy, soft, and I slit his throat. Oh, not literally, don't flinch. No, I mean I killed the part of me that begged for safety. I buried the self that trembled at rejection. I strangled the whimpering voice that asked permission to exist. That man is dead, and in his place stands someone new, someone untouchable. Now let me tell you what happens after the transformation. When you stop fearing fear, you become unpredictable. And nothing terrifies people more than unpredictability. A victim follows rules. He's readable, he's predictable, he's safe. A predator doesn't ask permission. He moves when others hesitate. He laughs when others tremble. He thrives in the uncertainty everyone else drowns in. That's what I became. Not fearless, no. Fear still whispers to me. But now it whispers in my service. It sharpens my reflexes. It fuels my jokes. It turns every moment into theater, every silence into suspense, every action into a punchline. Do you see the difference? The weak man says, please, fear, don't hurt me. The strong man says, fear, sharpen my blade. But me? Ha! I say, fear, put on a clown suit, paint a smile, and let's put on a show. That's the real transformation. That's the punchline the herd never understands. And here's the tragedy of it all. Most men will never transform. They will die lapdogs, trembling in their kennels, barking at shadows but never daring to bite. They fear rejection more than they fear mediocrity. They fear being laughed at more than they fear wasting their lives. They fear solitude more than they fear slavery. So they remain victims. And when life finally comes for them, when the storm rips apart their illusions, they collapse. But me? I collapse into laughter, because I've already crossed the line. I've already danced with fear and made it my partner. A victim waits for rescue. A predator is the storm. A victim begs for comfort. A predator thrives in chaos. A victim hides behind morality, laws, approval. A predator laughs, unmasks, and shows the world what it really is. Fragile, trembling, desperate for safety. That's why the Joker is dangerous. Not because he has no fear, but because he wears it like a crown. Because he understands that the only way to survive in a cruel world is to be crueler, funnier, freer than the fear itself. So let me ask you, my little audience, my trembling crowd, when fear comes for you, and it will you beg it to go away? Or will you laugh? Will you hide in the cage the world built for you? Or will you rip the bars apart with your bare, bloody hands? Will you stay the victim? Or will you become the predator? The choice is simple. The punchline is yours. And remember this, fear will never leave you. It will always be there, whispering, chuckling, waiting. But if you can turn that whisper into your music, if you can make that chuckle part of your joke, then congratulations. You've done what few ever will. You've crossed the line. You've transformed. And once you cross that line, you can never go back. The victim dies 1,000 deaths. The predator, he dies once. And until that day, he laughs. Fear. Oh, now we're talking. The one thing that makes the strong stumble, the weak whimper, and the whole civilized world dance like puppets on invisible strings. You see, everyone thinks fear is an enemy. They build their armies, their walls, their police, their rules, all to lock fear outside the gates. But here's the punchline. Fear isn't outside, it's inside. It's sitting at the table, drinking your wine, laughing at your laws. The only difference between me and them, I let it laugh with me. They try to lock it up. I let it out. And guess what? It obeys me. Now let's be honest. Fear is faster than bullets. You don't need to put a gun to someone's head. All you need is a whisper in the right ear, a hint of chaos at the right moment, and the whole room collapses on itself. Why waste ammunition when imagination is cheaper? You tell a man his house is burning, and before the flames even touch the walls, he's already choking on smoke that isn't there. That's the real magic. Fear fills the blanks better than any bullet ever could. But here's where it gets delicious. Fear doesn't have to destroy you. Oh no, fear is raw energy. You can bottle it, sharpen it, turn it into the sharpest blade in the room. The average man feels fear and freezes. He goes stiff, his breath quickens, his heartbeat races like a trapped animal. He wants it gone, wants it to vanish. He pleads with it like a beggar pleading for mercy. But me? Oh, I savor it. I let it in. I let it race through my veins like fire, and then I bend it. I use it. I make fear do what I want. That's the difference between a clown in the audience and the joker on the stage. Unpredictability. That's the crown jewel of fear's arsenal. People aren't terrified of pain. They're terrified of not knowing when pain is coming. You walk into a room with a knife, wave it around, people get nervous. But walk into a room with a smile, say nothing, do nothing, just let the silence breathe and watch them twitch. Their minds start inventing horrors worse than anything you could actually do. That's the art of chaos. That's fear as a weapon. You don't deliver the punchline. You let them imagine it. And trust me, their imagination is crueler than you'll ever be. See, soldiers train for pain. Gladiators train for blades. But no one trains for uncertainty. That's why chaos works. It's not the blood that terrifies them. It's not the explosions. It's the silence before the explosion, the moment where they don't know if the laughter is real or if it's their last lullaby. Fear thrives in shadows, in pauses, in what might happen. And that's why I love it. It's limitless. It doesn't need facts. It doesn't need proof. It just needs a stage. Let's take the gladiator, for example. You know, the one you neat little philosophers like to brag about? Standing tall in the arena, sweating, trembling, facing the beast. His heart pounding like a war drum. They say fear sharpens him, makes him strike harder. Ha! Cute story. But me? I laugh at the gladiator, because his fear still obeys the script. He knows the beast is there. He knows the fight is coming. Predictable, orderly, tragic, yes, but safe in its way. What terrifies a man more than claws and teeth? The unknown. Imagine that gladiator standing in an empty arena. No beast, no crowd, just silence. Just a door that might open at any second. He doesn't know when, he doesn't know what. That is terror. That is chaos. That's the Joker's game. Fear is a stage, my friend, and chaos is the play. Every scream, every flinch, every nervous glance is applause. People think chaos is noise, fire, explosions, screaming in the streets. Wrong. Chaos is control. Chaos is making the world lean in, breath held, waiting for the next line. It's not randomness, it's rhythm. And fear is the music. You play it too fast, they panic and burn out. You play it too slow, they grow numb. But just the right tempo, and you can make an entire city dance. Ask Gotham. They know the tune. But let's not romanticize it too much. Fear is dirty. Fear is ugly. It makes men betray their brothers, sell their souls, abandon everything they claim to value. And here's the secret. That's when you see their true face. Take away comfort, light a match under their illusions, and watch what crawls out. They call it morality when it's fear of judgment. They call it loyalty when it's fear of solitude. Strip those fears away, and suddenly, poof, no morality, no loyalty, just naked, trembling little creatures clinging to their own skins. And you, if you're clever enough, can stand above them, not because you're fearless, but because you use your fear while theirs uses them. Fear as a weapon doesn't just strike outward, it reshapes inward. Oh, I felt it. The pulse racing, the blood roaring in my ears, the laughter bubbling up when most men would cry. That's fear transmuted. That's alchemy. You take the terror of death and turn it into the comedy of existence. Because what's funnier than life itself? A sick joke waiting to be told. And the punchline? Everyone dies. Once you accept that, fear loses its bite. Once you laugh at the inevitable, you own the joke. That's why I win. That's why I always win. Because they're still taking the joke seriously. I'm already laughing, so listen closely. The art of chaos isn't about being reckless. No, no, no. Recklessness is predictable. You charge blindly, you die quickly. That's not fearlessness, that's stupidity. The true artist knows the audience. He knows when to whisper, when to scream, when to let silence do the killing. Fear is a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. Used with precision, it controls crowds better than any speech. Used with patience, it makes leaders bend knees without a fight. Used with creativity, it turns the strongest man into his own executioner. And me? Oh, I use it like paint on a canvas. The city is my gallery. The screams are my colors. And the silence is my signature. You want power? Forget love. Forget loyalty. Forget applause. They're all counterfeit coins. Real power is when they look at you and they can't predict what comes next. When their minds spin faster than their tongues. When they obey not because they respect you, but because they fear what happens if they don't. That's the punchline, my dear. That's the art of chaos. You don't fight fear. You don't flee from it. You turn it into a joke so sharp it cuts everyone in the room before they realize they're bleeding. And the best part? Fear doesn't die. You can kill men, you can burn cities, but fear survives. It hides in shadows, crawls into new hosts, waits for the next performance. And if you've mastered it, if you've turned it into your pet, your puppet, your plaything, then you never run out of ammunition. The crowd will always give you what you need. They'll hand you their secrets, their weaknesses, their trembling voices, all because they can't stop imagining the worst. That's when you lean in, smile, and say, why so serious? Fear is not the enemy. Fear is the stage. And on that stage, chaos is the act. And I am the punchline. Everyone wears a mask. Don't deny it. Don't squirm. It's true. The polished executive with his expensive suit. Mask. The loving husband who secretly drowns in resentment. Mask. The priest with trembling hands. Mask. Society itself is one giant masquerade, ball-painted smiles, polished reputations, hollow laughs. You think you're different? You think your face is you? Please. That's the best joke of all. Me? Oh, I'm honest about it. My mask isn't some polite little cover-up. My mask laughs at you. My mask screams at you. My mask is a neon sign flashing. I know the game, and I don't care if you see it. That's the difference between me and you. You wear masks to hide. I wear mine to mock the very idea of hiding. Fear, my dear friend, is the glue that holds these masks in place. You fear rejection, so you put on the mask of confidence. You fear loneliness, so you slap on the mask of loyalty. You fear being forgotten, so you smear your face with paint called morality. And there you stand, clapping along with the herd, all of you pretending that the masks are real. But I'll let you in on a little secret. The mask isn't there to protect you from others. No, no, no. It's there to protect you from yourself. Because if you took it off, if you saw what squirmed beneath, you'd break. That's where I come in. I don't break masks gently. I rip them. I smash mirrors right in your face and force you to look at the shards. Each piece, a reflection of your real fear, jagged and sharp. People hate me not because I kill. Oh no. They hate me because I reveal the trembling child inside every man. I reveal the cowardly animal behind every claim of virtue. I reveal that all your laughter, all your honor, all your civility, none of it survives when the lights go out. Let's talk about mirrors. Mirrors don't lie. People do. That's why they hate mirrors. Stand in front of one long enough and you'll see the cracks in your performance. The trembling lip, the darting eye, the flinch. You'll see fear dripping off you like sweat. Me? I love mirrors. I am a mirror. When I stand in a room, I don't reveal myself. I reveal you. My silence forces you to fill it with your confessions. My laugh forces you to admit the joke you've been hiding. My mask? It's not a mask at all. It's a mirror painted with a grin. You don't see me. You see your own panic bouncing back at you. But here's the punchline. Masks and mirrors are the same thing. One hides, the other reveals. One pretends, the other exposes. But both are fear's children. The timid man hides behind his mask. The fearless man uses the mask as armor. The timid man avoids mirrors. The fearless man turns mirrors into weapons. You see, when you understand that life is theater, you stop worrying about sincerity. You stop trembling about being authentic. Authenticity is for the weak, for the herd. The strong design their masks, polish their mirrors, and use them to rule. I'll tell you something that makes the herd tremble. Fear doesn't always scream. Sometimes fear laughs. Sometimes fear smiles. The scariest man in the room isn't the one shouting, "I'll kill you." No, it's the one sitting in the corner, grinning, saying nothing. That's why silence terrifies you. That's why my laugh terrifies you. Because you don't know what's behind it. You don't know when the joke will end and the knife will begin. That unreadability, oh, that's power. Masks, mirrors, madness. They weave together like threads of the same rope. Madness is simply the refusal to play the game the way everyone else does. Society calls me insane because I don't wear the masks they approve of. But let me ask you, who's really insane? The man who pretends to be normal while rotting inside, or the man who shows his rot proudly and dares you to laugh at it? I'll tell you this, madness is not sickness. Madness is freedom. Madness is the tearing of masks, the shattering of mirrors, the embrace of fear as your stage partner. Think about the last time you lied. You said you were fine. You smiled. You nodded. But inside, your stomach was burning. That was your mask. Think about the last time you avoided silence. You turned on music, scrolled your phone, chattered nonsense. That was you fleeing the mirror. You see, most of you can't even stand yourselves in quiet. You need distraction, validation, noise. And then you call me mad for laughing at what you run from. Isn't that hilarious? Let me give you a trick. Next time fear grabs your throat, don't run. Put on a mask. Design it. Control it. Let fear itself become part of your costume. If your hands tremble, hide them behind your back and grin wider. If your voice cracks, lower it until they lean in to hear. Do you see? The mask doesn't betray you. The mask betrays them. They think they see strength when all they see is design. And when you really want to cut someone open, not with steel, but with silence, use the mirror. Let them project their fears onto you. They'll confess their secrets, reveal their betrayals, beg for your approval. Why? Because your stillness becomes unbearable. Your calm becomes chaos to them. You don't need to lift a finger. They unravel themselves while you sit there grinning. That's the true joke of fear. People destroy themselves trying to read the unreadable. Masks, mirrors, madness. This is my holy trinity. With masks, I hide in plain sight. With mirrors, I expose your terror. With madness, I dance where you dare not step. And you? You sit there trembling, calling it cruelty, calling it chaos, calling it wrong. But deep down, you know the truth. You know your life is already a performance. You know you've been acting since the day you learned fear. You know that every smile, every nod, every polite word, it's all a mask. The only difference between you and me is that I admit it. I embrace it. I weaponize it. So here's the choice. Keep pretending your mask is real. Keep smashing your mirrors. Keep calling men like me mad. Or pick up the paint, design your mask, sharpen your mirror, and step into the madness with me. Laugh with your fear. Stare it down. Make it serve you. Do this, and you'll discover the punchline I already know. Fear isn't your enemy. Fear is your costume, your reflection, your liberation. And once you wear it with a grin, no one, not even fear itself, can control you. That's the joke, my friend. And the joke is on you. You know what nobody likes to admit? Fear is the furnace. Fear is the fire that either burns you to ashes or reshapes you into something harder, colder, sharper. And oh, my friend, the funny part? Most people never step into that fire. They live their lives tiptoeing around the flames, pretending the smoke doesn't choke them, pretending the heat doesn't lick at their fragile little illusions. They hide behind excuses, behind rules, behind crowds, and then they wonder why nothing about them changes. But me? I adore the fire. I set it. I dance in it. I let it burn away all the nonsense until only chaos remains. Because chaos is honest. Chaos doesn't lie to you the way comfort does. Chaos is the moment you discover what you are made of. Picture this, Gotham, midnight, the sky choking on its own smoke, sirens echoing like a broken symphony, two ferries out on the water, one full of ordinary citizens, the other full of convicts, both with bombs wired under their feet. And I, the conductor of this beautiful orchestra, hand each boat the detonator to blow the other to pieces. What happens? Fear happens. People panic. They scream. They bargain with themselves. And in those trembling minutes, the masks slip. The good people look just as monstrous as the criminals. You see, trials by fire expose what polite society keeps hidden. That's why I do what I do. Not for the money, not for the headlines, not for the cheap thrills. No, no, no. It's about revelation. When you face the fire of fear, when you know death is breathing on your neck, you stop pretending. You show who you really are. And let's be honest, most people are pathetic in that moment. They fold, they break, they beg. But every once in a while, oh, it's delicious, someone doesn't crumble. Someone doesn't cling to illusions. Instead, they step forward, bleeding, scarred, terrified, but alive in a way they never were before. That's rebirth. That's the crucible. You think you're fearless because you've never been tested? Ha! Don't make me laugh. Actually, no, please do, because your delusion is comedy gold. Fearless? Without trials? That's like calling yourself a blacksmith when you've never touched fire. You don't become steel by staying cold. You only harden when the flames wrap around you, when the hammer smashes you, when the world spits on you, betrays you, tries to break you. That's when you learn. That's when you become something different. Fear is the test. Fear is the forge. Fear is the forge. Fear is the only teacher that never lies. It strips away your friends, your comforts, your little bedtime stories about being brave. It leaves you naked, trembling, alone. And in that silence, in that silence, you finally hear the truth. You are either prey or predator, sheep or wolf, joker or joke. You want to know why I laugh? Because the trial by fire never ends. People think fear is conquered once, like some fairy tale monster slain by a knight. Wrong. Fear evolves. It grows with you. A child fears the dark. A teenager fears rejection. A man fears failure, disgrace, betrayal. And the higher you rise, the darker the fire gets. The king doesn't fear poverty. He fears being forgotten. The general doesn't fear obscurity. He fears disgrace. And me? I don't fear death. I fear boredom. That's why I keep stoking the fire. Now, here's the kicker. Fear will tell you it's mercy to avoid the flames. It whispers that safety is wisdom, that comfort is virtue. But fear is a liar. Its voice is sweet, but its chains are iron. The truth? Fear must be faced head-on, in the fire, in the chaos, in the moment when everything you love is crumbling. If you run, it grows stronger. If you fight, it bends to you. Let me tell you a secret. Every empire, every dynasty, every legend you know was built on bones, blood, and fire. Not one man who built greatness did it by hiding from trials. They all stared fear down. They all let the fire carve them. And most of them didn't survive intact. That's the point. The old self dies in the fire. The weakling inside you is executed without pity. What rises out of the smoke isn't the same man who walked in. He's different. He's untouchable. But here's the punchline. Most people never make it through. They call the fire unfair. They call the trials too much. They run back to their little cages, their soft beds, their shallow friendships. They choose safety over transformation. And then they die, 1,000 little deaths before the real one comes. Tragic? Or hilarious? Because the door to power was right there in front of them, and they bolted it shut with their own trembling hands. So I'll ask you, when the fire comes for you, when life rips apart your illusions, when fear drags you to the square and demands you kneel, what will you do? Will you beg? Will you retreat? Will you collapse into ashes? Or will you rise, coughing, bleeding, broken, but alive in a way the herd will never understand? See, the trial by fire isn't punishment, it's invitation. It's the Joker's grand stage where the cowards get exposed and the rare few are reborn. It's not cruelty, it's clarity. You think you want comfort, but comfort makes you weak. You think you want safety, but safety makes you a slave. What you need is the fire. What you need is the trial. And when you pass through it, when you step out scarred and smiling, when you stop fearing the flames because you've already burned once and survived, that's when you're free. That's when fear becomes your servant instead of your master. That's when you laugh. Not because there's nothing to fear, but because fear itself is your punchline. So don't hide from the trial. Don't beg it to go away. Step into it. Light the match yourself if you have to. Let it hurt. Let it strip you bare. Because in that fire, you'll either be destroyed or you'll be remade into something unstoppable. And trust me, the herd will never understand the man who walks out of flames laughing. They'll whisper, "You're mad." They'll call you dangerous. And they'll be right. Fear is the crucible. The fire is waiting. And the only question left is this. When the world throws you into the blaze, will you rise in ashes or in laughter? Fear, my friend, is not some shadow you chase away with a nightlight. Fear is the king, the emperor, the one pulling the strings behind every polite handshake, every nervous laugh, every desperate little prayer whispered in the dark. And here's the punchline. Most people spend their lives pretending it doesn't exist. They hide from it, medicate it, disguise it, dress it up as morality, loyalty, humility. But I don't play hide and seek with fear. I don't run from it. I don't beg it to leave me alone. I study it. I dissect it. I sharpen it until it glitters like a knife under the circus lights. And because you're still listening, because some part of you wants to know how to turn trembling into triumph, I'll give you the rules. Not the rules of kings or priests or philosophers, but the rules of clowns, the Joker's laws of fear. And unlike the bedtime stories you were spoon-fed, these rules aren't designed to make you feel safe. They're designed to make you dangerous. Law 1. Fear is the funniest joke, because everyone takes it seriously. The first law is simple. Fear is the greatest comedy in existence. You see, the whole world is a stage, and everyone out there is delivering the same performance, pretending not to be afraid. But fear is everywhere, in every twitch, every hesitation, every excuse. And the more they hide it, the funnier it becomes. Think of the trembling executive in a skyscraper boardroom, sweating bullets while he talks about market stability, or the politician pretending his voice isn't cracking as the cameras close in. These people are terrified, and they think the suit or the microphone makes it less obvious. It doesn't. Fear is the joke they're telling, and they don't even know the audience is laughing. Now, the trick is not to avoid fear, but to expose it. Drag it out into the open, hold it up for everyone to see, and then laugh. Because when you laugh at fear, it loses its monopoly on your soul. You flip the script. Instead of being the punchline, you become the comedian. And the comedian always controls the room. Law 2. Unpredictability is the highest form of control. Control. Everyone wants it. Few ever touch it. Most men think control comes from being big, loud, powerful. But real control comes from unpredictability. People fear what they cannot predict. If they know exactly what you'll do, they can prepare. They can calculate. They can plan. But if you're unreadable, if your rhythm is broken, if your smile hides a scream and your silence hides a storm, then they're yours. Look at Gotham. The mob bosses had guns, the cops had rules, the politicians had speeches. All very predictable. Then I showed up. I flipped a coin that wasn't there, lit the table on fire, laughed when I should have screamed when I should have laughed. And suddenly, every man in the room was looking over his shoulder. Why? Because they didn't know what I'd do next. And that's power. Power is not the ability to move people like chess pieces. Power is making them realize the board itself no longer makes sense. Law 3. Silence can be scarier than screams. Everyone assumes fear shouts. They think it's the monster in the closet roaring, the gun firing, the siren wailing. But no, fear whispers. Fear is in the silence. A scream lasts seconds. Silence lasts forever. Picture it, a man tied to a chair. He's begging, sobbing, promising everything under the sun. Now most people would shout back, wave a weapon, make a lot of noise. That's theater for amateurs. Me? I sit. I tilt my head. I say nothing. And the silence eats him alive. He starts imagining what I'm thinking, what I might do, how bad it will be, how long it will last. His imagination becomes my greatest weapon. You see, silence lets fear do the talking for you. And fear has the best vocabulary of all. So remember, don't always scream. Sometimes you just need to shut up and let the silence press on their chest until they can't breathe. Law 4. Masks are not lies. They are weapons. Everyone wears a mask. The smiling neighbor, the polite teacher, the loyal friend. All masks. People think masks are deception, but that's just another joke. Masks are weapons. The face you wear is the battlefield you carry with you. My mask? A painted grin, smeared lipstick, eyes blackened like a funeral. And when people see it, they don't just see me. They see their nightmares, their childhood fears, their buried chaos. They project everything onto the mask, and I use it to cut them down without ever lifting a finger. But here's the twist. You don't need makeup to wear a mask. Your silence is a mask. Your calm is a mask. Your composure is a mask. Every expression you choose, every gesture you allow, every posture you present is a weapon if you treat it that way. Never walk into a room naked. Always wear the mask that bends the odds. Law 5. To win, don't remove fear. Make it laugh with you. Here's the final law, the one that separates the fools from the freaks. Most men spend their lives trying to get rid of fear, like it's a tumor they can cut out. But fear doesn't leave. Fear doesn't vanish. Fear evolves. And if you don't tame it, it tames you. So what do? I don't try to silence fear. I make it part of the act. Fear laughs with me. When my pulse races, I let it push my laughter higher. When my chest tightens, I let it sharpen my timing. When dread whispers, "You can't win," I turn it into a punchline. Suddenly, fear isn't a chain. It's the spotlight. It makes me sharper, funnier, deadlier. And that's the joke no one else wants to hear. You don't kill fear. You don't conquer it. You dance with it, bleed with it, laugh with it. You make fear part of your show until people can't tell where you end, and it begins. That's when you stop being afraid of fear and start making fear afraid of you. So there you have it, the Joker's laws of fear. 5 little commandments carved into chaos. Fear is the funniest joke. Unpredictability is control. Silence terrifies louder than screams. Masks are weapons. Don't kill fear, make it laugh with you. Follow them and you'll stop living like a trembling extra in someone else's play. You'll become the one writing the script, setting the tempo, deciding the ending. You'll stop running from fear and start juggling it like fire in your hands. And when people see you holding that fire without flinching, they won't just respect you, they'll dread you. And dread, my dear, is the purest currency of all. Not applause, not approval, not even love. Dread. Because love can fade, applause can be stolen, but dread stays. Dread keeps them up at night, whispering your name like a curse and a prayer. Dread makes them laugh nervously at jokes they don't understand, wondering when the punchline will fall. And when it does, when you finally deliver it, the whole world will realize the truth. Fear was never the enemy. Fear was always the stage. And you? You were always the show. You think fear goes away, don't you? You think one day you'll wake up, stretch your arms, and the trembling will just vanish like smoke. Wrong. Fear never leaves, never dies, never disappears. It just changes costumes. And most men spend their entire lives begging for fear to leave them, to give them a break, to let them breathe. But I find that funny. You see, the real trick isn't to kill fear. No. The trick is to teach fear how to laugh with you. Imagine this, a man in a room full of people. His heart is racing, his palms sweating. He wants to speak, but the lump in his throat strangles every word. That man thinks courage is about waiting for fear to disappear. He thinks if he waits long enough, he'll feel ready. Ha! What a joke. You don't wait for fear to leave. You drag it by the collar onto the stage with you. You let the audience see it. You turn the stuttering into a rhythm. You turn the tremble into a drumbeat. You make fear part of your act. And suddenly, everyone's listening, not to perfection, but to authenticity. The man who laughs at his own fear, he becomes untouchable. That's the rebirth, darling. Not fearlessness. Never fearlessness. Fear never leaves. But the reborn man, the man who dares to stand in the fire, he learns to play with fear the way I play with knives. Not recklessly, not blindly, but with precision, with style. He realizes the joke. Fear was never the enemy. Fear was always the audience, waiting to be entertained. And if you can make fear clap for you, well, you don't need applause from anyone else, do you? Now, listen carefully. Society will sell you lullabies about bravery. They'll tell you to be humble, to wait, to think twice. They'll dress up hesitation as wisdom, caution as virtue, retreat as strategy. But you, if you want rebirth, you must spit on those lies. The fearless man does not wait for permission. He does not wait until he feels strong. He moves first, and in moving, he becomes strong. He does not eliminate fear. He doesn't need to. He learns to make fear his little puppet. And here's the beautiful, twisted truth. Once you learn to dance with fear, you start to see the world differently. You stop trembling at judgment. You stop begging for approval. You stop worshiping comfort. Comfort becomes a cage, and fear becomes your freedom. Do you see the reversal? The same thing that once shackled you becomes your key. That's the joke. Picture it. You step onto your personal battlefield, whether it's a boardroom, a stage, a relationship, or a street corner. Fear whispers in your ear, "You can't do this. You're going to fail." They'll laugh at you. "And you?" You smile. You tilt your head. You whisper back, "Good. Let's give them a show." Suddenly, the battlefield isn't terrifying, it's hilarious. Because the moment you decide to laugh at fear, you become unpredictable. And the world doesn't know how to fight a man. It can't predict. This is what makes the reborn man dangerous. He doesn't need to silence fear. He lets fear speak, but only in his voice. He takes its script, rewrites the lines, and delivers the monologue. He understands what the timid never will. Fear is a performance, and the man who controls the stage controls the room. But beware, there's a warning in all of this. Rebirth is not pretty, it's not gentle, it's violent. You must kill the version of yourself that trembles, the one who seeks applause, the one who hides in the herd. That man must die. Do you hear me? Die. He must be dragged out into the square of your mind, stripped of his excuses, stripped of his masks, and executed. Because if you let him live, if you let him whisper, he will crawl back in moments of weakness. He will beg you to retreat. And the reborn man cannot afford retreat. The reborn man only moves forward. So, when the fire comes, when fear tightens its grip, do not beg for escape. Do not pray for safety. Step into the chaos. Light the match yourself. Laugh as the old you burns. That's rebirth, not the absence of fear, but the refusal to be its victim ever again. And then, here's the sweet part. You realize that you don't just survive fear, you use it. You sharpen it like a blade. You drink it like fuel. You let it race through your veins and quicken your reflexes. Suddenly, what once paralyzed you propels you. The room that once terrified you now bends to your presence. Because people can smell it, can't they? They can smell when a man is free. They can smell when fear is no longer his master. And they fear him for it. Oh yes, they fear the man who no longer fears. But here's the punchline. They'll never admit it. They'll call you arrogant. They'll call you cold. They'll call you ruthless. They'll whisper that you've changed. And you know what? They're right. You have changed. You're reborn. You no longer belong to their trembling little circle of approval seekers. You step beyond. And their hatred? Their whispers? That's proof that your rebirth is real. The reborn man doesn't need to shout about courage. His silence terrifies more than their noise. He doesn't need to prove strength. His composure proves it. He doesn't beg fear to leave. He wears fear like a mask, invisible, unshakable. And because no one can see his weakness, he becomes unreadable, inevitable, untouchable. This is the Joker's warning. Rebirth is not about becoming fearless. It's about becoming the man who makes fear his stagehand, his instrument, his little jester. So, I'll ask you, just as I ask Gotham every night, are you ready? Are you ready to stop begging fear to leave you alone? Are you ready to stop trembling in the crowd? Are you ready to drag your weaker self into the square and slit his throat without hesitation? Because until you do, you remain divided. But once you act, once you kill the trembling version of yourself, you step into chaos reborn. You step into freedom. You step into power. And now comes the question you can't dodge. What will you do with it? Will you waste it? Try to use fear like a crutch? Or will you play with it, laugh with it, wield it like the sharpest blade in the world? The reborn man doesn't just conquer fear. He makes it part of his act. And when he steps into a room, everyone feels it. They can't explain it. They can't read it. But they know something dangerous has arrived. So, laugh with me now. Laugh at the fear that once owned you. Laugh at the crowd that still trembles. Laugh at the weak self you buried. And whisper the truth. I am not fearless. I am fear reborn. You want to know the punchline? Here it is. The world doesn't actually fear death, pain, or even loss. No, no, no. The world fears unpredictability. It trembles at the idea that tomorrow won't follow the script. And that, my friend, is where true power hides. Because the man who laughs at fear, the man who treats chaos like a dance partner, is a man the world cannot control. He becomes untouchable. Think about it. Everyone else is waiting for permission. Permission to act. Permission to speak. Permission to live. The crowd clings to rules, routines, structures, because they believe safety lives inside predictability. But what happens when you remove the script? When you toss the rules out the window and burn the calendar? They collapse. They panic. Their minds short-circuit like rats in a maze when the walls start moving. And while they scramble for order, the one who thrives in chaos walks calmly through the fire, untouched. That's the revelation. Power doesn't belong to the fearless. Power belongs to the unreadable. To the man who makes fear his stage, his instrument, his comedy routine. He doesn't beg for applause. He doesn't explain his act. He lets the silence linger, the tension stretch, until every eye in the room bends toward him. They don't even realize they've surrendered. But they have. You see, the secret isn't to silence fear. Oh no, fear is far too useful for that. The secret is to wear it like a cloak. Imagine walking into a room where everyone is shouting, panicking, spinning in circles. And there you are, calm, smiling, maybe even chuckling under your breath. What do they think? They think you know something they don't. They think you've got the ace card. They think you've already rigged the game. And just like that, their fear starts working for you. Their imagination does the heavy lifting. Their paranoia makes you bigger, sharper, more terrifying than you actually are. That, my dear listener, is the true power of fear. It isn't what it does to you. It's what you make it do to them. The world sees calm composure as strength, but they never see the storm you bent into obedience. They don't know about the nights you sat in silence while fear screamed in your ear. They don't know about the scars you carry, the trials that hammered you into steel. They only see what you allow them to see. And what they see is unreadable, unflinching, inevitable. To them, you are no longer a man. You're a riddle wrapped in fire, smiling while they burn. And here's the cruel little twist. Fear never goes away. Never. It still whispers, still claws at the back of your mind. But now it whispers in your service. It becomes your dog, your shadow, your little jester that amuses you while it terrifies everyone else. The fearless man doesn't kill fear. He trains it. He straps a leash around its neck and parades it through the streets like a circus trick. The crowd gasps. They can't believe you've tamed the beast they've been running from their whole lives. But you have. And because of that, you become something they will never be. Untouchable. Think of the lion in the tall grass. He doesn't need to roar. He doesn't need to charge. His stillness is more terrifying than noise ever could be. The jungle already knows who rules it. Or picture the sea, calm on the surface, hiding storms beneath. That's not weakness. That's power disguised as silence. The lion doesn't explain himself. The sea doesn't apologize. And neither do you. And yet, understand this. Unreadability comes with a cost. The herd. The trembling little crowd you've left behind will resent you. They'll whisper that you've changed. They'll say you're cold, detached, ruthless. And you know what? They're right. You have changed. You've burned the bridges back to their fragile circle of comfort. You've stepped beyond the script. You no longer share their addictions, their need for applause, their hunger for approval, their obsession with safety. And because they cannot understand you, they will fear you. But listen closely. That fear is your crown. That resentment is your throne. People despise what they cannot control. They call you dangerous when they realize their old tricks. Guilt, shame, rejection no longer work on you. They can't buy you with their praise. They can't break you with their disapproval. They reach for the levers of fear to pull you down, only to discover those cords have been severed. And in that moment, their fear multiplies. Because nothing terrifies a man more than the presence of one who does not flinch. So the real question is this: are you ready? Ready to walk into the chamber of your dread, lock the doors behind you, and stay until fear bows? Ready to be hated, resented, misunderstood because you've refused to kneel? Ready to step beyond the safety of the herd and into the realm where chaos bends around you like smoke? If you are, then congratulations. You're already halfway to becoming untouchable. But remember, this isn't a one-time act. Fear evolves. It grows with your ambitions. At first, you fear rejection, then failure, then betrayal, then disgrace. The higher you climb, the sharper its teeth become. That's why unreadability is the only shield that lasts. The fearless man doesn't brag. He doesn't declare his strength. He lets the world wonder. He lets the silence do the speaking. His enemies misjudge him, thinking he trembles as they do. They plot, they conspire, they spin their little webs of fear. But when they discover you don't dance to the same strings, when they realize the wires that bind most men have no grip on you, they break. Not you, them. And that's the revelation. True power is not the absence of fear. It's the mastery of it. And mastery, my friend, is invisible. Others see only your calm, your poise, your unreadable mask. They never see the storms you bent into silence. They never see the laughter that swallowed your terror whole. They never see the man you killed inside to become who you are now. They only see the shadow that remains, the figure that cannot be read, cannot be broken, cannot be stopped. So when the world looks at you and trembles, remember, they're not really afraid of you. They're afraid of what you represent. You are the proof that fear is not a master, but a servant. That chaos is not the end, but the beginning. That the joke has always been on them. And in that revelation, you have become untouchable. So I ask you now for the last time, are you ready to laugh in the face of fear? Are you ready to be misunderstood, hated, and whispered about? Because you chose chaos over comfort, clarity over cowardice? If you are, then write it, shout it, carve it into the comments for the world to see. I am the chaos. And when you do, you'll know the truth. Not just about fear, not just about power, but about yourself. You'll know that fear was never your enemy. It was always your punchline. And the punchline, my friend, is this: the man who cannot be ruled by fear cannot be ruled by anyone.